So here we have a pattern which is made from 4 identical squares, and we're told that the sides of these squares are parallel to the axes. And we can see that in the diagram below. So we have these sides of all of the squares which are going to be parallel to the y-axis here, and similarly these sides of the squares which are parallel to the x-axis. If we then go on, we're told that point A has coordinates 6, 7, and we can see point A here on the diagram. It's in the bottom left corner of the bottom left square of the diagram. And we then have point B, which is at 38, 36, which is at the top right corner of the top right square of this diagram. So these 2 points are the furthest away they could possibly be on this diagram. They're on opposite corners of the pattern, on as far away as they can be while touching the squares. We're then told that point C is marked on the diagram, and we're asked to work out its coordinates. So point C is here in the centre of the diagram. Now initially here, I'm thinking we're working with these 4 squares, which are all identical, and we can work out the distance between points A and B, and we could use this to figure out the side length of these squares, because we're going to need to know the side length to work out where C is in comparison to the coordinates of A and B. So we could either do this by looking at the x-axis or at the y-axis, but here I'm going to take the x-axis as my example. So I want to work out the side length of a square. So if we look across the x-axis, point A rests here at 6, and then point B, we trace that down, we're going to be at the x-coordinate 38. Now in between A and B, if we go across the x-axis, we have 4 complete squares, 4 complete side lengths of this square. So if we take the difference between these x-coordinates and divide it by 4, we're going to get the side length of 1 square. So I can take the difference by doing 38 minus 6, which gives me 32. And then I need to take 32 and divide that by 4 to give me 8 for the side length of 1 square. So each of these lengths are going to be 8. And because they're squares, we also know the vertical lengths are going to be 8. So this length here. Now we can use this to work out both the x and y coordinate of point C. So I can see that point C is going to be 2 complete side lengths away from point A and point B if we're going on the x-axis. So if I take the x-coordinate of point A, which is 6, I can then work with this. So I'll take the 6, and I now need to add on 2 lots of 8 in order to go across the x-axis to get to the point C, to find C's x-coordinate. So I'm doing 6 plus 8 plus 8, and that's going to give me 22. So I've gone from point 6 across 8 and across another 8, and that gives me the x-coordinate of C, which is at 22. So I can write that in the box as I've already calculated the x-coordinate of 22 here. Now similarly, for the y-coordinate of C, if I look at the diagram again, from point B this time, if I go down 2 complete squares, 2 complete side lengths, I'm going to get to the y-coordinate of point C. So I need to take the y-coordinate of point B and subtract 2 lots of 8, so 2 side lengths from that. So the y-coordinate of point C, I'll take the y-coordinate of B, which is 36, subtract 8, and subtract another 8, and that's going to leave me with an answer of 20 here to put in as the y-coordinate. So now if I go back and have a look at how the marks were awarded, the first mark here was for finding the width of the diagram, so the width of these 4 squares by doing 38 minus 6 to get 32. Similarly, I could have found the height to get this mark, but working with the width just seemed a little bit easier in this case. I then get the second mark for dividing this by 4 to find the side length of one square. And the third mark would have been for then calculating the x-coordinate correctly using this side length of 8. And the following one for finding the y-coordinate correctly from counting down from the y-coordinate of point B. And then the final of the fifth of the 5 marks is going to be for the final correct answer given in the box as 2220 for the coordinates of C.